Hi everybody, I'm Kevna Kona and I'm an Android developer at Comcast working for Xfinity Home. And my topic for today is accessibility in Android where some assembly is required. So today, like you guys know that accessibility in Android is really awesome, and it doesn't really work out of the box just the way you like. So a little bit more tuning is required to actually make it work with your apps. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So what is accessibility? When you Google accessibility in Wikipedia, you know they say that it is a design of products, devices, services, or environments with people for people with disabilities. It's also an ability to access something, something that is easy without any obstacles. It's something that is easy to obtain and use. And I would like to think that it is like treating everybody the same, giving them equal opportunities, no matter what their circumstances are or what their abilities are. We do come across certain apps where there is no accessibility support. I have seen certain apps which have no accessibility support at all. And some of the reasons that this could happen is because it's time consuming. It is kind of slow process. Sorry.
It's fine. Keep going.
It is kind of slow process where you have to do a lot of layout work and you have to try to test it and go over the read talk back. So it is time consuming. Second thing is that it is difficult with custom views. If you don't use a native component, it kind of gets tricky when you have custom views. And the third thing is generally it's an afterthought, because most of the times that is not our first thing in our mind. We want to just deliver a functional thing out there, and we sort of retrofit this thing inside of our app, and not always it's easy to just go and refactor your layouts. Thanks. Despite of all these reasons that I just mentioned, I think it is very important that we do support accessibility. And some of the reasons that I would like to think that we should do this is because it is the right thing to do. How many of you would feel discriminated if I told you you can't attend this session because of some ability of yours, or because you could walk? That would be wrong, right? Because you want to attend this session and I'm saying that you can't attend this session. So I think that is how the users would feel if you tell them that you can't use this app, but they really want to use your app. I would like to think that this is a big chunk of audience. Like 1/3 of US household has at least one member with disability, and we know that every day 10,000 of baby boomers are aging 65. So as you age, your vision deteriorates and you have like dexterity and hearing challenges. So why not support these people? They have been using technology and they would continue to use technology. Focus on accessibility also makes a better design. So when you think of what people with accessibility would really need on the screen, you decide like, okay, should this component really be on the screen? Does it clutter too much, or is this really necessary to have it on this particular display? So I think your design gets better when you think of making an inclusive app. The real question is, that you are this developer who wants to support accessibility, but does your company really support this idea? Do they also feel the same? Do they have time and resources to do it? And I think big companies do. Like, they have resources, they can afford to spend time on this. But what about startups? Like, the startups are always on a deadline, they have to deliver. But I like to think that because this is a very big audience, it is a very good opportunity for startups to do this. If you don't support accessibility, you would be leaving out a huge chunk of audience. And startups can also spend time on this is because Android has so many built-in tools that it makes it easier for developers to spend time on this. I like to mention Tom Lodowski. He's an VP of accessibility team at Comcast, and he's great. He's very friendly, and his team is focused on the usability products of Comcast for people with disabilities. He has helped us a lot while when we were building our app, making it accessible. He's that expert that that can give you feedback, that can actually tell you what is right and what is not. I don't know if I mentioned this, but he's also blind. he has been there to support us with all of our demos. One of the demo sessions that I had with him, and I remember that he was using our app so fast. He was like just browsing through all of our screens with all the views. So that made us realize that you don't really need lengthy sentences. You have to be to the point. It was a good feedback that we received from him. So the reason I'm talking about Tom here is because he was an expert. He is an expert, and he has helped us a lot. And I feel like it is necessary that you find an expert in your company, that something that can help you deliver such products, such features. And if there is no expert, then you should become one, because Tom is great, and he's already taken. So you should find your own Tom. So what is accessibility in Android? Android provides us built-in accessibility features which we can make use of in our app. But it's sort of like buying this IKEA chair, where you just have to pop in certain legs to actually use it and make it right to sit on it. So same goes here. Like all the awesome features that we get from accessibility from Android are great, but we need to tweak it a little bit so that we can make it better to support our app. So Android's built-in accessibility suite is called Android Accessibility Suite, and it includes a lot of things. They have changed over years, and it's become much better now. And some of the things that I know that they include are select to speak. As the name suggests, it actually selects a portion of your text. So the talkback reads out that portion, and you don't really have to use those gestures to use the device. There's switch access. This is an external device that you plug it into your phone, and you use the device without using the touch screen. So it's used for people who have dexterity impairments. It also includes TalkBack, which is screen reader, which is sort of used for people who have visual low vision and impairments. And I think for the focus of this presentation, I'm going to keep talking about TalkBack and because I'm using this in my demo app, so it would make sense to talk about TalkBack. So what is TalkBack? TalkBack gives you audible, spoken, and vibration feedback to the users who are blind or who have low vision. And because of this feedback, they can navigate their device without actually having to see on their device. So when you use TalkBack, it tells you that what is on your screen, what is displayed on your screen, what exactly are you touching, and what you can do with it. When TalkBack needs to speak out something, it makes a request to Google's text-to-speech engine, which actually makes an audible representation of the text or the text that is displayed on the screen. You can find TalkBack in the settings app of your Android app and under accessibility sections. So there are different ways you use accessibility TalkBack. So there are different gestures that you would need to use accessibility TalkBack. And I'm going to go over quickly some of the gestures that we see today and we use it. So as a person who has sight and who was looking into his app, your focus is by your eyes, right? You see the element that you want to focus on, and you know what you want to do. And the way you select that particular thing is by single tapping on that particular element. But what happens when you have TalkBack? You have to, there are industry-wide gestures that people use to make this work. And one of these gestures is swiping. Swiping actually helps you with TalkBack focusing. So if you can see, if you swipe right, it actually selects the next element. And if you swipe left, it selects the previous element. And that is how the focus goes on. You can see a box that gets, there is a box around the element that tells you that this is the element that's focused. How do you people would ask, why not just single tap? Because blind users can't really see your app. You can't just focus on a particular element with a single tap. But people who have sight and can use TalkBack or are using TalkBack, they can single tap on an element, and that would gain focus. So that's like a cute animation my presentation has. And with TalkBack, the way people select something is by double tapping on it. So you double tap on an element and that would select. So suppose if you had to select a button, you would double tap and that would perform an action for you. Wildlife was, doing this presentation, I thought of an app to build for the demo of this presentation. And, because this is New York City, I was thinking of a popular food item to build. So I thought of dollar pizza and hot dogs. And since I'm a vegetarian, I don't really know much about hot dogs, so I thought I should build like a pizza app. So I just have like a couple of screens where I show, the basic ordering of pizza app and some of the toppings that you can check. What we are going to do in the next section is that we are going to go over some of the issues that you see with, or some of the things that come with default accessibility, and then you actually see how you can modify it to make it better with your app, and that would make sense. So I'm going to play like small clips of the issues and then show the fix, and then show the fix video. The way you would see my gestures on the app is by this white dot on the screen. So that would tell you if I'm swiping or if I'm double tapping something. So let's look at one of the issues that comes with default accessibility.
Size large. Double tap to activate.
Can you guys hear the audio in the? Yeah. Okay.
Double tap to activate.
So can you guys guess what went wrong here? Like, it seems all great, right? But there is something missing. If you guys can think of something. So what? Yeah, like exactly. Like Sweetie just said that toppings should have like a value, and let's look at this video one more time just so that it's more clear.
Double tap to activate. Toppings. Double tap to activate.
So, as a person who has sight, you can see that toppings had no value, right? And you can see that you have to go and select it using whatever list or something that there would be. So, toppings was basically empty. And but a person who doesn't have sight, what would they hear? They would just hear toppings. But toppings what? It was sort of empty. It should say that there is no toppings and you should select something. So that's what it's missing. It's missing a metadata towards the text field that is toppings. The second problem that you see was the double tap to activate. And I know everywhere in Android we have this double tap to activate, but sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like, what is double tap to activate? What are you activating? I think it would make sense that you would say double tap to order pizza or double tap to select toppings. So how do we fix these problems? So the first one where, it was missing content description. Content description is like metadata. It's like alternative text that gives you an ability to have more sort of like data towards what you're explaining. So for this thing I did, like, I added no topping selected if I wanted to add, if the values field was empty. You could do it in the code, like the way I have it, and you could also do it in the XML if you wanted to do it. The second problem was double tap to activate, and this seems like a standard feature across Android, but I think it's possible that you could actually change this by setting the accessibility delegate method. Inside of this, you would override the initialize node info, and you would make a custom action and add it to this particular node info by adding like an action. So I have like a custom, text here that says that select toppings. So it would say that double tap to select toppings. Let's look at the fix of this, the video that I just
size
showed.
large is selected. Double tap to change size. No toppings selected. Double tap to select toppings.
I think that made sense. It was more clear this way rather than double tap to activate. Let's look at another problem that I've seen in Android.
Select pizza toppings. Pepperoni in list 3 items. Double tap to select.
You can see like a white check mark as a user who has sight that you selected a topping and that got selected. But what happens when you just close your eyes and you try to see, okay, double tap to select pepperoni, like, and if you double tap, what just happened? Like, there is no validation. Let's look at this one more time so you guys understand what I'm talking about.
Select pizza toppings. Pepperoni in list 3 items. Double tap to select.
What is missing is this announcement that your action, that is double tap, like it happened, like a validation to your action. So there was no announcement for the selection that you just made. The way you do it, and this is very simple, there is announce for accessibility for a particular view. So you could just call this method, provide the string that you could use to make sure that the selection goes through, and it's just simple. You can just set it for a view. Let's look at the fix.
Pepperoni in list 3 items. Double tap to select. Pepperoni selected.
It says double tap pepperoni is selected. So I think this is sort of nice for people who don't have vision, because it tells them that their action was actually complete. And obviously, if you select something and if you try to unselect, it would also read out pepperoni was unselected. So let's look at one more problem.
Pepperoni in list 3 items. Double tap to select. Reduce toppings button. Double tap to reduce toppings. 33% seek control. Use volume keys to adjust. Increase toppings button. Double tap to increase toppings.
In this thing that I did not select pepperoni, but it still made me go through the layouts that actually are for selecting the quantity of pepperoni that I want on my pizza. And I feel that was unnecessary. Like, why do I select the quantity when I haven't even selected the object itself, like the topping itself? So then this obviously is a cluttered design, but I just wanted to exaggerate here a little bit. But if you can see that, this would be time consuming, right? For users who have to actually go through, like, say 15 toppings, you would actually go through all the quantities of all the 15 toppings. So it was unnecessary focus. For elements that don't need focus, you could easily set them with, with importance for accessibility as no. So you could set it in your code, and you can also set it in your XML. Of course, when you want something to be focused, if you have set that thing as no, you should set that thing as, importance for accessibility as yes, or else it would not be read out. Let's look at the demo quickly.
Peppers. Tomatoes. Double tap to select.
You can see that I went through all my toppings without actually selecting, and it did not go through all of the quantity that I wanted for each topping. Some of the additional tips that I have learned so far in my, when I was implementing accessibility is focus order has always been a pain. It is very tough when you have, like, a lot of fragments, a lot of dialogues popping out, and you want to, maintain the way your focus actually should go. So there are tools, there are methods that you can call and set, but these are available in greater than, API 21. So you have set traversal after and set traversal before. You could also use accessibility traversal after in the XML. The thing that the focus order goes to, it's always from, top to bottom, from left to right. So you sort of have to make your views go in that order. And the project I'm working on, it was more tough because we run on KitKat, and for us we had to really modify a lot of views, so we had to actually add another set of view groups to make sure the focus goes in the order that we wanted to go through. Image views. You should add content description to image views, but if there is no content description for an image view, it would not get selected by TalkBack. And add only if the image itself is informative. Like, if it is decorative, there is no need for you to add content description, because it's just more time consuming for the user to actually go through the image view. Testing. I think we all know that we are targeting a group of people who really need our help, and I think it is very important for us to test this thoroughly. And there are a lot of ways you can test this, like manual testing. You have to make sure that your views are getting focused correctly. You have to make sure they're getting in the correct order as you want. And you also have to make sure that you're not breaking any additional functionality that was associated, originally with your feature. There is obviously RoboElectric and Espresso support, where they have accessibility checks that, with simple sentences you could enable it, and that goes through and gives you validation if your content description was correct, etc. You could also add a lint rule, where you can set that each element should have content description. It's kind of aggressive, but it's totally your call. And then again, you have the scanner app. Android scanner app is pretty cool. It's very easy to use. It's also, you could enable it inside of your settings section, and it would scan your app and tell you that if something didn't look right, like the contrast ratio, the text size, if something was too small for the users to use, etc. So it's a good quick sanity testing sort of thing. And user testing. As developers, we've always known that we know what is best for the users. We know how they're going to use the app, how the flow is going to be of the app. But you can be wrong. I have been wrong. Sometimes you would get problems that you never thought of. So I think it's important that if somebody who is testing with TalkBack, or somebody who usually uses TalkBack tries to test your app, so you should seek help. You should get feedback around this, and it would really help you out in future. So the demo of Pizza app was very simple. Like, the screens were simple, and it had like very basic components, and accessibility was awesome on that. I work on a project called Xfinity Home, and I work on a touch screen, which is like a 7-inch tablet, which runs on a custom OS and the hardware. And this was not easy for us to do. Like, we had a goal in 2018 that we are supposed to make this product accessible, which was not easy. We spent a lot of time on this, and I wanted to show you some of the challenges. But before I move on, I wanted to explain what is Xfinity Home. So Xfinity Home is Comcast's smart home security solution, where you have like 24/7 monitoring of your home, and you can control your cameras, thermostats, lights. You could do more with the mobile apps and the touch screen. So I think it's pretty cool. So some of the challenges. Now, as I mentioned that, this product was built on like custom Android OS. So we forked out of Android operating system platforms, and, we only have like certain things that are present in the OS that we picked. So for example, here we had like KitKat. So a lot of part was, removed to support what was only required. So as we had to develop accessibility on this product, we thought of how should we go about it, right? So at the very core, it is still an accessibility service that actually monitors your keystrokes and gives you feedback. But and it gets more refined as TalkBack comes into picture. So it's more better audible feedback. We couldn't access TalkBack. TalkBack was a standalone app like in 2018 and 2017. So you could just download TalkBack if you did not have it and use it. But because we were never registered with Google Play Store, we couldn't go through that. We develop our own app and we deploy it as well. So we've never gone through like Google Play Store. And so that was obviously some option that we couldn't do it. So we thought of building our custom accessibility service, and tried to capture the keystrokes and see the feedback. But it was a lot of work. Like, even for a very small feature, we saw that we got so much of feedback that we didn't know how to manipulate it. And we also did not want to reinvent the wheel. So what we did was we took TalkBack's open source code under the license of Apache 2.0, which is also a version greater than KitKat, and we used it as a library inside of our code base. With this, we could actually use TalkBack the way it is, like in the way it is in 5.1 version. And we obviously had to make certain modifications because this was greater than KitKat, so we had to comment out code that obviously would crash our app on KitKat, some of the string manipulations, etc. And the other last part of it, as I mentioned that TalkBack makes use of Google's text-to-speech engine. We did not have it, so we actually had to ask our backend to patch this through. So they made sure that we have text-to-speech, and that's how we were able to do accessibility. The reason I'm talking about this today here is because at first it seemed impossible to deliver this, right? We tried so much and we couldn't figure out how to do it, but we still made it work. We thought we actually tried a lot and we did make it work. So the hardest part of implementing accessibility is the willingness to do it. It's not just remembering to do it, but it takes sort of will to actually implement accessibility. And I think it's important that you guys should support accessibility in your apps. How many of you know Brad Snyder? Nice. So Brad Snyder is an American swimmer on United States Paralympic team, and he was also a Navy officer, United States Navy officer who was positioned in Afghanistan. He lost his eyesight because of an explosion. So Comcast celebrated Accessibility Awareness Day by calling a bunch of guest speakers, and we had they also celebrated the inclusivity that our products brought in. So Brad Snyder was a chief guest in our event, and when he entered the room, he was with a service dog, and he had like a very good build, but you could see that he had this sort of aura that around him that draws attention to you. So he was pretty cool, and I wanted to show you guys a small clip of him and Tom talking about the user impact that we had when we built something accessible, and to see if that actually provokes any thought in you. Let's look at this clip quickly.
I do want to share one. I want to jump to one story just because I know we're short on time, and
You're leading the show here.
Amidst all of those frustrations, amidst all of those hacks, it's 2016, and I'm getting ready to go to my second Paralympic Games. It's the Rio Games. And if you guys are familiar with the way that the Olympics and Paralympics are set up, the Olympics happen 2 weeks prior to the Paralympics, right? And so I am at my house. I've got my big duffel bag open, and I'm putting all my Speedos and whatnot into the bag. And just to get into the right spirit, I have the Olympic Games on my television with my Xfinity box. I will say there was a time where Comcast wasn't awesome for all, and that was kind of when I was an original subscriber. And so it wasn't until about 2015 I had someone install those Xfinity boxes, and there was all this automated, the voice infrastructure and the descriptive audio automatically turned on, and whoever installed it kind of set all that stuff up. And then I don't watch a whole lot of TV, so I didn't really think about it, but I just turned on the Olympic Games. I'm packing my bag, and I hear like two voices as diving is going on. It's a diver, and then you hear the commentator say, Jennifer whoever steps up to the diving board, and the commentator gets quiet. And then all of a sudden you hear this other voice. The diver walks to the end of the board. She turns around. She throws her chamois on the ground. And I was like listening, and I was like, the commentators are being like really descriptive. So you've caught my attention, and I'm listening. I heard these two voices go back and forth, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is descriptive audio. This is for descriptive audio, and it must be live because this is a live sporting event. First off, at this point in 2016, it's pretty hard for me to find a movie that has descriptive audio, let alone a live sporting event. So I was just blown away. And I had this moment, I dropped something. I had this moment where I realized you guys, Comcast, with the way that you have done this, is really ahead, light years ahead of the rest of the world. The rest of the world is obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. I have to continually email people, call attention to the fact that your website's not accessible. The update to your app isn't accessible. It's frustrating over and over and over again. Here, not only do I not have to send you a dirty email or send a mean tweet, you're far ahead of the curve providing this progressive service. And oh, by the way, there's probably no thank you for that because it only really affects me and the small blind community. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the blind community for live descriptive audio for the 2000s.
I think user impact is the reason why you should be doing accessibility. And I really hope, from this talk that there is a minute chance that next time you're building an app, you do think of making it inclusive. And for final credits, I would really love to say thank you to all of my team members who've helped me with zillion dry runs, and my roommate for giving me pizza app designs. Thank you.